Hey everybody, Larry, one man garage. Yeah, it's the afternoon, it's hot, and I'm not going to start the brake thing on the start sheaf yet, but that rear end housing over there is the Firebird one we need to put together. I've done some cleaning on it, and I think we're about ready to put it together. I knocked the inner axle seals out yesterday on Sunday, so we're going to kind of guess reseal it, and it's already blowed out with air, so here we go. There's those 278 gears I picked up a week and a half ago, I guess. There's the backing plates I picked up for those 69 GTO brakes, so I'm just going to use those because they're clean and got good wheel cylinders. We won't do the rest of the brakes until the front brakes are ready on the Firebird, so we just wanted to be able to put wheels on it and roll it. So we're gonna put seals in here in a little bit. I gotta find a socket that fits the OD so I can drive them in the right way, because I don't have the right tool. So that's the seal. It's a Timken 8594S. So that keeps the oil from getting to the sealed axle bearings. And all I got's this 1.5-inch socket that will hit it on the metal part there. So that's the way we're going to drive it in. I measured before, and they were like, one was 1.25 inch recess, the other one was a little more than 1 3/8, so probably just do 1.25 inch on both sides. So much for using the socket and the heavy weight. That was way too much. It ended up knocking it in at too far and at an angle, and all knocked in there too far, so I had to use the dowels that I knocked out the seals with yesterday and knock the new one out, and just get a regular hammer and just lightly worked it all the way around, little by little, and then got back to my 1.25 measurement, seam square. So always check your stuff before you take it apart. Like I said, I had 1.25 inch on one and like 1 3/8 on the other side, so I'm just gonna go for 1.25 inch on both sides. But man, it is so freaking hot out here. I can only come out here for a couple minutes. I mean, a couple minutes. This is well, it's not optimal. We'll just call it that. Well, in the heat, I did manage to load some scrap. I had this crappy Bonneville fender that's rusty, and this old hoopty busted generator that's been laying apart. Don't need to waste my time. And these doors had rust in the bottom and some dent stuff. So just doing a little cleanup scrap. Maybe I can get some cash and get in on that Powerball tomorrow. But yeah, I got that other seal in the axle a little while ago, so both inner seals are in. Yeah, I still got a little bit of a mess out here. I'm just using the Catalina as a workbench because, the fenders are flat. Flat fender. Yeah, anyway, whatever. We're gonna wash it sometime. But got about 1.25 inch recess on this one and the other one. So might put the pinion in a minute. I don't know yet. I did save the Bonneville fender emblem because it's so cool. The other fender's a Catalina fender, same year. I'm going to pull the emblem off it as well. This is my little garage gas station mechanic style dirty gross sink. Got me some decorative license platage and so forth. So, whatever. Anyway, Bonneville. Well, took a little break and flipped the housing around. If the bearing race is smooth to the touch and there's no chips, or any kind of roughness, and it smoothed that old soft, sensitive human finger. You know, it's good. You don't have to just replace everything because it's old. Like bearings submerged in oil, nothing bad happens. It's probably still good. I mean, like, this is the bearing that came with the gears, and I cleaned it off, and I didn't have any rollers that were pitted or disintegrating. And then I got the new seal for the pinion, which is a Timken 2043. So that basically just, before you put the pinion in, drops in there. And you got that there. So that's in there like butter. Using a fresh flat side wood tool, little weight hammer. Rotated snout down. Mostly clean enough. Gear, we're not messing with the crush sleeve. I'll talk about that later. I'm burning because it's hot. So we'll have to draw that up. Third jack stand, so we can work on putting a yoke on it and drawing it in, and then we'll do the final nut set, recondition the old nut, because you can just recrimp the pinion nut. You don't have to buy a new one all the time, just saying. Tinker says, get this rear end together. So we have our non-hardening Teflon PTFE sealant that's we like to use on the splinage on the inside here, so it'll slide together, and try to keep the gears dry here, but then we're going to lube the outside seal with grease. Alright, grease on the outside, non-hardening Teflon on the inside, because you can get a real slow seepage leak on the splines behind the nut for the pinion if you don't put a sealant. But you know, it varies. I mean, I used to put these together with nothing, and sometimes the splinage was tight and didn't leak at all. Sometimes it's just some fractional bit less tight, and you could get a little bit of a drip that's not from the outer seal, that's through the nut. So that's why you're doing the sealant. Well, so I had to kind of give the gear a whack on the other side to put it through the bearing far enough to temporarily put the used pinion nut on backwards to catch some threads, because it's tapered on the one side minus the washer, so I can help grab it to kind of pull it through for the initial pull through with the impact. So that's what's up now. Guess my battery went dead. Different battery. Torque level 4, maximum. Well, that battery's dead too. And we're not even pulled up all the way. I farted. Whatever. I'm a human. Battery charge pause. Grabbed one of the little batteries from the drill. No promises. Got to pull the nut off and flip it the right way around with the washer. That actually worked fine. So now the nuts flip the right way around. Washer added. We're going to try to pull up the slack, and then we'll pull the nut off and re-crimp the nut and use Loctite to get the final torque. It's coming along, actually. Trying to get all the fore and aft slack out of it. Almost there. So now there is no fore and aft rocking, and there's drag. Like it's spinning half a turn, so it is pulled all the way up. Now we'll pull the nut off so we can hit it with a chisel. My bad. We're gonna hit the edge with a chisel, crimp it, put some Loctite, and get a torque on it. Now that the slack's pulled up on the pinion, on the seat at the bearings, inner and outer pinion bearings. So I actually used the pickle fork for ball joint as a chisel, kind of whacked and folded in the last threads in 4 points, and then I'm going to use some Loctite, just medium, on the gear threads for the pinion. Washer's still on there. So I have some friction on here where I spin it and it drags enough to only go a half turn on the drag. That's pretty normal when I set one up. And then I'm gonna probably have to put the phone down, but I'm gonna whack it here and stake the thread after it's torqued for another layer of retention. So that is done. I did a little stake, couple smacks with the Loctite in there on the dry threads. So that pinion is set, good to go. We're gonna let it dry. So there's the pretty little 278 pinion in there. Caps reference left and right. Got the gear chunk here. Probably gonna lay it in there. I don't know how much further to, it's getting late. This will carry on to tomorrow afternoon. Well, so now we just got to shim the sides. So I'm gonna have to go into my inventory and sort this one out. It's gonna take a little bit of time. So it's probably it for tonight. Well, it's the next day. I need to shim the left and right of the carrier, but you know, since we're working on the planet of Mercury, well, you know, we'll see what happens. Maybe I should get some gloves. Also, I got $11 for scrap metal today from the load I showed you earlier, and thought since it was over $1 billion, I'd do the extremely rare thing and use that money to buy some Powerball tickets. So, you know, if there's a surge or complete drop off of content, well, maybe you'll know. Maybe we won't know what happens. Yeah, well, I'm sure I'll be here next week. So, anyways, back at it, I guess. Actually found my semi-lost old dial indicator. I guess I didn't throw it away. Anyway, I have a collection of shims from other rear ends, and I put a 235 thou on the left, which seemed ballpark-ish close. And then I was trying to find something to give us some preload on the right. So this is pretty snug, but it's a 245 thou on the right. I tapped it in far enough to square up everything. And you kind of got to roll with the measurements, but I'm basically getting 10 thousandths backlash. So it's good. It's not loose, not too tight, kind of like the Goldilocks thing, whatever, just right. So I'm gonna go ahead and tap that in the rest of the way, throw the main caps on it, and then check the numbers again. And then, man, that's pretty good then, because I can just stick the axles in with the back end plates and throw some oil in it and the new gasket in the cover, and it's ready to go in the car. How about that? Well, caps are torqued on and still getting right around 9 or 10 thousandths. So I'm happy with it. That's right. Well, I've got some new Felpro axle flange gaskets that go between the housing and the backing plate. I got my T-bolts in there. I always save, you know, those hardwares when I'm tearing down extra rear ends, because get lost easy. They're fine threaded 3/8, and you need them for all your OEM bolt-in axle GM products. So anyway, got these axles here. They were pulled out of another 68 Firebird rear end, and the bearings were good, because this one, the water had got in it and rusted the bearings. So these are good to go. So really, we're just setting the backing plates on the gaskets, on the studs. We're going to just pull it together. Alright, got those set in place. I don't like the silver paint, so once it's all buttoned up, I'll probably do a little oven cleaner rinse on some of that and maybe paint it black. I don't know yet. Well, I got both axles in, and some of the nuts started with the plates and gaskets, both sides. I need to round up 2 more fine thread nuts. The factory outer gasket was steel, and these still had the OEM steel gasket, so I'm reusing those on the outside and just use the new Felpro paper ones on the inside. So that just needs to be snugged, but it is, well, it's mercury. We're pretty much working in the sun, like on the surface of the sun. So I'm gonna take a break. So we're gonna do some torquing. Don't want to go full nuclear yet. Want to cinch it up. It's only 3/8 bolts. Of course, now it's heavy to turn because you rotate the whole assembly. I'm gonna give that a whack. Yep, that little tone change. I didn't want to force the flange to have to pull it in, so I'm using setting 2 out of 4, so it shouldn't snap off. Looks like I got one stud to replace on this axle. I'm gonna do some more on the other side. Well, I got the 2 on this side torqued, and I gotta go find 2 more nuts. Oh man, did I say it's hot? Got some 80-90, little between a 1.5 and 2 quarts. Probably gonna use that, and the Auburn friction modifier additive, because that's a cone clutch style additive. So probably just chug a lug that, about half of that. Then we're gonna pour all that additive in the middle diff. Get all those vitamins in there for the Posi. The old GM original additive had some kind of oil made out of a sperm whale or something. It's probably not very politically friendly to harvest your Posi oil from the head of a sperm whale. But hey, that's what they used to use. This might be over full, but we'll check it later when we level it. But we're gonna seal it up and then spin it. It's like deja vu, a Felpro RDS 13410, because we just did it on the Le Mans. It's always a good feeling when you're at this point in a project. Of course, the notch at the top for the brake bracket for the line, and of course ring gear offset to the left. Just to say common sense stuff out loud, I mean, golly, John Madden did it and made a good living. I'm always multitasking and trying not to forget stuff, but hot dog, man, hot dog. Well, I grabbed some old dirty bolts and didn't clean them. Put them back where they belong, in that dirty hole. So, treat it like a wheel, crisscross. Thanks to James for this tool. It's been really handy. He left it here when he did my AC because he got a new freebie from some other YouTubers that got some extra tools. I could have silicone that gasket, but they seal on their own, dry surface. I scraped the silicone. That's pretty good to go. We're gonna elevate it here or here. Basically just circulate the oil, you know, that kind of stuff. Feels really good. It's like a new car all over again, 1969. This bird's gonna be amazing with that Ram Air 4 cam 9-to-1 455 ripping down the highway, and it ain't gonna be slow on the track, I can promise you. 455s don't care. They're like the Honey Badger torque motor. Gear ratios don't slow them down. Very little difference from low gears to highway gears. Little to no difference depending on the comparison. Well, we're gonna call this a wrap. Not the sandwich kind, but like I'm gonna go wash my hands and cool off again, and maybe Saturday we'll wrestle it up in the Firebird and swap out that steering box so we can get the wheels on it. Stay tuned, my friends.